Okay. So, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Severe Club. I am your host, Tina Severe, and welcome to another episode. I am very glad to be back. This is episode 3. And first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been supporting so far. We are on SoundCloud, we are on YouTube, we are on Spotify. So those are all the places that we're on. So please feel free wherever you're listening to share, follow, subscribe, all those things so we can just continue to grow and share our message with everyone, okay? And if you guys are watching on YouTube, you can see that I have done my hair. My hair, I got a retwist. I retwisted my hair yesterday, so yes, I'm feeling myself. So if I'm like messing with my hair a lot in this video, please don't mind that. But in today's episode, we are going to be talking about my spiritual journey. Oh my gosh, my spiritual journey. And my spiritual journey has been such a process, and for me, and of course for everyone, it probably is, but I am very excited to share this journey with you guys and so you guys can get a little background on me and where I'm at in my life. And yes, so first things first, I grew up in a Haitian household, as you guys know, or you should know, I am Haitian. And so on my father's side, my family was Catholic. On my mother's side, my mother was Baptist, and my grandmother on her side was, I think, Pentecostal. So either way, I grew up my whole life being in a church, going to church every Sunday. Um, I went to Bible school. I was in like the dance team, like praise dance. My mom was the manager of our dance team. So growing up, I was always in church in choir, whatever. I was in church. And, in Creole, we have something called L'Église la Caille l'école, which is like church, home, and school. And that's literally all your childhood would be like. And for a majority of my childhood, it was only L'Église la Caille l'école. But yes, I grew up in the church my whole life, but that did not necessarily mean that I understood Christianity or I had a connection with God or Jesus or, any source of higher power. So my whole life being in church, like yes, I was kind of just as a regular child at the time, just kind of just going through the motions. Like I'm going to church because my family's going to church and I ain't got no other choice but to go to church. So I will say that my real spiritual journey started when I was kind of in the middle of my depression. And if you guys heard my last few episodes, I referenced my depression and which occurred when I was in like high school. Um so while I was in the middle of my depression, I was kind of really, not only was it a depression, it was kind of like a beginning life crisis. Like not really a midlife crisis because I was so young, but like a beginning life crisis, like my first life crisis. I was really struggling with my identity, and I was struggling to figure out who I am, what do I believe in, you know, like who is Christina Severe, mentally, physically, spiritually, everything. And I just became very curious in learning about all different types of religions, very curious on learning about, different types of spirituality and different types of just the origins of different things, the origin of Christianity, the origin of, Yoruba and all these different things. So, okay, hopefully you guys cannot hear any background noise because I live in a house with a Haitian grandma, and who am I to tell her to be quiet? Um, so back to what I was saying, I was just became very curious on religion and different methods of spirituality. So of course, like any teenager would do at that time, I was on YouTube and I was watching a lot of YouTube videos about these different things. So I came across Young Pharaoh on YouTube and I was just watching a bunch of his videos on African spirituality, on, Egyptians and just all these different things about manifesting, about it just really opened my eyes to a whole other world that was a part that was different from what I knew and what I grew up in. Um, so before I even went on this journey of figuring out, who I am spiritually, I just felt I was in a very stuck and stagnant place in my life. And you guys, like, our life is not meant to be stagnant. We're always meant to be, growing and going through uncomfortable situations to become the best version of ourselves. And honestly, I just felt very stagnant and I felt like I was just going through the motions in my life. I felt like I wasn't living my life. I was just I was just here. And I knew that the main problem with that was because I did not feel any connection necessarily to anything, like a real connection. Like, yes, I would say I'm Christian. Yeah, I go to church, but was I really a Christian? Did I actually have a connection with God? Like, I was not praying. I was not, you know, really trying to apply my life into Christianity, like apply Christianity into my life. And I also did feel kind of limited in Christianity, limited in some of the ideals, some of the ways to act and dress, and all these things. And I did feel kind of ashamed that I felt kind of ashamed and scared to kind of go on my own spiritual journey, even if that meant that I don't follow Christianity, if that makes sense. Because you guys, like, I grew up Christian my whole life. My family is hella, hella, hella Christian. Oh my gosh, like, I can't even imagine telling my family that, like, I'm not Christian because that is, like, the craziest thing in the world to me. But just the fact of me questioning my spirituality, I was very scared to be judged just for considering other religions or just for considering other things besides what I've known my whole life. And eventually I did do a lot of research on African spirituality. That's something that I felt very close to. One thing that kind of rubbed me wrong in Christianity was just the idea of how it was pushed on slaves. And like I told you guys earlier, I was very interested in the origins of things, how things started. And, just doing research on Christianity and doing research on all these different other religions was very interesting to me. And it made me question, some things about my religion and other religions. But the main conclusion that I came to um was about most religions was that they're kind of dogmatic. And you know even though, yes, most religions are dogmatic, they also carry very similar values and guidelines, which I don't know if that's something that you learn morally or if it's something that people are born with, intuitively. I'm not sure, but that's just a thought. Okay, so let me go back to what I have in my notebook because I feel like I'm kind of like drifting off. So yeah, African spirituality. So I felt like that was something that made me feel closest and made me feel the most connection to my roots and myself because not only was I searching for a connection with God, I was searching a connection with myself, whether that was through Christianity or through other means of spirituality. So I did a lot of research. I ordered a lot of books. Let me see. I have some books right here. I'll just show you guys. So I have You Are a Spiritual Being, Having a Human Experience. I read The New Spirituality of African American Women. I have African Holistic Health, Sacred Women, a guided, what does it say? A guided healing and feminine body. A guide to healing and feminine. Okay, I cannot read that, but I just started doing a lot of research on just spirituality and taking and breaking down being religious and being spiritual. That was a really big question, and I told you guys the Severe Club in the beginning was an online blog, and a question that I would ask the people I was interviewing was, do you consider yourself to be religious or spiritual? Now, growing up the person I would always consider myself to be religious because I am Christian and that's all I knew, but I never really understood what spirituality actually was. And I knew being Christian, yes, there are spirits, there's, things of that nature, but I didn't understand what spirituality was and that it's having a connection to a higher power. And yes, I was religious at that time, but I felt like I did not have a real relationship with God. And that to me was most important besides anything, besides any rules or regulations in any religion, or besides doing, crystals and all these extra things. Like, I just wanted to have a real relationship with God. And especially when I was in a time where I felt like I did not have a strong relationship with those individuals who I felt like were supposed to lay that foundation in me. I did not feel like I had a strong relationship with myself. You know, I did not feel like I had a strong relationship in the actual relationship I was in. I just know, like, if I had a relationship with God, that would be the validation that I needed to continue on with my life, honestly. Um, and something that I learned was that my relationship with God or the higher power or whatever you refer to God as being, my relationship with God does not have to fit within a certain guide or anything. Like, I have to have a unique relationship with God. Like, your relationship with God, your spiritual journey should be unique to you. There's not a one size fits all to any of this. There is not like a list of things that you have to do. Like, your relationship with God is unique to you, and that is all that matters. Something that might work for me might not work for you. If Christianity works for you, that is perfectly fine, because for a long time it did for me too. And not saying that I'm not a Christian, because it's complicated, but I just value my relationship with God on a level that goes beyond Christianity, if that makes sense. I hope it does. Um, so so one thing that I do want to highlight on my spiritual journey, and a common misconception about spiritual journeys, is that it's easy. And I just want to let you guys know that it's not easy. And it's okay that it's not easy, because going on a spiritual journey is actually pretty difficult. And it's actually very, very, very trying. Okay. Your spiritual journey and having kind of uh just living in your higher self and enhancing the person you are, it's way more than just the stuff that you see on social media where people are like, laying in the bathtub with face mask on, and like, it's way more than self pampering and getting your nails done and getting your hair done. Like, yes, all of those things help, but your spiritual journey takes real work. Your spiritual journey is, connecting with God, dealing with your inner demons, your trauma, your childhood, dealing with your childhood self. Like, your spiritual journey is not easy. It's very trying. You have to look yourself in the mirror and figure out who you are, and, face yourself for exactly who you are, all the BS. Like, it is a very trying time, and many people go into their spiritual journey thinking, yeah, like, I'm gonna get through this and it's gonna be the best thing ever. I'm gonna have so much fun, and yeah, I get to meditate and, play with crystals and pray and talk to God. But a lot of times, my spiritual journey included me just crying my heart out. Just crying my heart out and begging for, me to feel forgiveness, for me to feel love, for me to feel safe, for me to feel comfortable just being in my own self. Like, one of the things I had to heal from during my spiritual journey was to heal my inner child. And the feeling of abandonment, the feeling of loneliness that follows me my whole life. Because when I think back on it, like, the feelings of me associated being with abandoned and lonely, that all started when I was a child. And that all, it all followed me my whole life. And even through times where I was lonely and I didn't understand why, I did feel abandoned and I may not have understood why. That is, you know, something that my inner child has dealt with. And that's something I had to heal myself on my spiritual journey because, man, my inner child, she's not going nowhere. And if she feels lonely and if she feels abandoned, I do not want to carry that with me the rest of my life and pass that down to, my future generations. Another thing that I had to understand and try to heal was generational trauma. Like, my family has been through a lot, physically, mentally, spiritually, and understanding that trauma can get passed down through generations and just understanding the things that I had on my back that may not have even been my pain exactly. The things that I felt that I was going through that may not have even been because of me. That could have been because of my grandparents, because of my mother, because of my father. Like, generational trauma, a lot of us are feeling weight and are feeling things that are not even ours. Like, that can come from generational trauma and that could also come from soul ties. But that's another discussion. um, so another key point that I want to note is that your spiritual journey is an ongoing journey, just like your self love journey. Like, it's an ongoing journey; it never ends. Like, it is something that you have to wake up and practice every single day. And my spiritual journey has personally been off and on, off and on. Like, I go through periods where I'm just like really good. I'm on it. I'm dealing through the hardships. And there's other times where I don't even think about, my spiritual self. But just realizing that I am a spiritual being and not to get caught up in this physical reality because there is other life beyond what I can see. There's other connections and other spirits beyond what I can see. And that is something that I always have to remember. Like, I am a spiritual being. And sometimes, you know what? It's so crazy because sometimes I'll be like, you know what? When I'm like super stressed, I'll be like, oh my gosh, all of this is fake. Like, all of this is fake. Like, why am I, like, sometimes I just be wanting to just go somewhere and just like forget social media, forget the internet, forget all these going to college and all these rules and all these things you have to do to be an adult. Like, sometimes I'm just like, you know what, all of this is fake. All of this is the freaking matrix. And living is crazy because when you're living in the matrix and you know it's a matrix, it's kind of like, dang, like, why am I here? But at the same time, it is what it is. um Okay, so a few things that helped me in my spiritual journey that I feel like might be beneficial to you, maybe, maybe not, different strokes for different folks. One thing that helped me for real, for real, for real on my spiritual journey is journaling. Journaling. I've said it a lot in my past episodes. Journaling really made me understand who I was, what I feel, and a lot of times I would just write to God in my journal. Like, sometimes, getting on my knees and praying may not have been the most efficient way for me to talk to God. Sometimes I just wanted to write it out. And hey, God can read, God's in my heart. God knows what I'm saying. And whatever helps you to express yourself in that way spiritually, whether that may be, reading your Bible, praying on your knees, going to church, like, whatever works for you works for you. And as long as you develop that key relationship with God, in whatever circumstance that means for you, that's not harming any other that it's not harming anybody else, then go ahead. Another thing too, meditation. Being still in my thoughts, being still in myself. Oh my gosh, very challenging. When I first started meditating, that was very, very, very challenging for me, and sometimes it still is when I got a lot going on. But just coming back to myself, just realizing that I am one. I'm one with God. I'm one with the universe. I'm one with all that is around me. And just feeling connected, feeling grounded. That is something meditating has really done, helped me bring me back to ground zero. Another key thing and is manifesting. Oh my gosh, y'all, like the power of your tongue is so strong. The power of your desires is so strong. Like manifesting has helped me so much. Like I swear I manifested the relationship I am with my boyfriend. Like I manifested that. I literally wrote in my journal exactly what I wanted in a partner and I got that. Like I manifested exactly who I want, what the qualities I want him to have, how I want him to treat me. And I manifested my man, okay? And I also manifested many other things. Like I also manifested my business. You know, some of the things that I sell in my business, like my jewelry and um, you know, soaps and hair care, like all this stuff I've manifested because I saw this vision way in the past and I spoke it into the universe and the universe blessed me. God blessed me with exactly what I wanted. And which is why manifesting is so important and so important to be specific with what you want because the universe is always listening and everything comes back in full circle. Um, Oh, I also want to tell you guys that what you seek is seeking you. If you want something, that if you put that energy into something, that energy is gonna come back. Everything comes in full circle. Also reading. So like I told you, I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of just trying to learn about spirituality for what that means for other people, so I can identify what that means for myself, whether I agree with it or not. Like just reading and educating myself is something that I always love to do because I always love learning. I always love learning people's different perspectives on different things, and that has really helped me in my spirituality. It really opened my eyes to a lot of things, and I am an open minded person. I'm very open minded. Okay, guys, so we're getting to the end of our episode today. And you guys know we have our severe word before we leave. So the severe word for today is carry yourself like you already have it. Your reality is a reflection of your mindset. Manifest your reality. And something that I have on the back of my journal is manifesting my reality because I am always manifesting my reality. Like I told you guys, what you put out into the world is going to come back to you, whether it's good or bad. Whenever I'm manifesting, I act like I already have it because in my mind I do already have it. I may not see it right now, but I know I have it. Like if I want a certain amount of money, I act like it's already in my bank account. Like not that I'm gonna like go crazy and spend hella money, but it's just like that money already belongs to me. I may not see it right now, but it already belongs to me and it's coming in my direction. So I'm gonna carry myself like I have it. So I am accepting when it comes. You know, I'm already ready for when it comes because I knew I already have it. Like if you want a certain job opportunity, if you're looking for a certain job opportunity and you're manifesting this certain job opportunity to come to you, act like you already got it. So when it does come, it's like when the universe does provide that to you, you are already ready and accepting towards it because you've been waiting for it. And it's kind of like the more energy you give towards it, the more it is about to come back to you, if that makes sense, if I worded that correctly. The next kind of severe word I have is you cannot talk butterfly language with caterpillar people. And this is really, this is kind of funny because this can be shady, but it's also not. You cannot talk butterfly language with caterpillar people. I understand the world a certain way, and the way that I look at the world is a certain way that may be different from the masses. And, sometimes people are not always going to be receptive towards that, and that's perfectly fine. but you cannot talk butterfly language with caterpillar people. And it's not saying that the caterpillars, they're not on my level, so like I can't do this or they don't understand me or like all this stuff. Like I'm better than the caterpillars because no. Because if I am a butterfly, I started off as a caterpillar too. And I grew into a butterfly. So we're all on our individual journeys. And just because you have a relationship with God a certain way, just because you're on a certain spiritual journey that works for you, does not mean it works for everyone else. And does not mean it has to either. Some people, even though I don't understand maybe why, but some people are perfectly fine living a life having no connection to God, having, no putting no energy behind their spiritual wellness. And some people that's perfectly fine. And you can beat it into their heads as much as you want, but you cannot talk butterfly language with caterpillar people. People have to want certain things for themselves in order for you to talk to them and for it to be receptive. So, thank you guys for listening and watching to this episode of The Severe Club. Make sure you guys follow us on Instagram at The Severe Club. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Tina Severe. Follow my business, Shop Severe, to get you some jewelry, some skincare, some hair care, and all that good stuff. So, thank you guys so much for watching this episode, and bye!